Welcome to the Real Life Momz podcast, where we put ourselves at the top of our to-do list. I'm Lisa Foster, your host, and today I'm here with fellow mom and clinical sex therapist, Keri Green. And today we're talking about, let's guess, right? Sex and intimacy. Not a big aha moment, but I'm excited about this. So hi, Keri. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So good to be here.
I am glad to have you, but I'm going to start with a very simple question
Okay.
because my knowledge of a sex therapist is really Meet the Fockers. I'm sure you've heard this before, right? The movie, like where the
Yes.
mom's like a
Yes.
sex therapist and they're
Yes.
doing all sorts of things, right? But I don't think that's really what I should be envisioning as we go into this conversation. So maybe just tell us a little bit, what is it? How does it help us? Yeah, give us the spill.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Although I'd love to be compared to Barbara Streisand
I
in many
mean,
ways,
yeah.
maybe not so much in that movie. A sex therapist is like any other therapist. I am a talk therapist. I speak to adults and couples about anything and everything that can fall under the sex and intimacy umbrella. I always say, I am a sex worker who keeps my clothes on. There is no watching of people having sex. There is no having sex with my clients. And I am simply saying that because some people do not know. So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist first. Over the years, I've worked with kids and families and couples and adults. My work now, specifically as a clinical sex therapist, where I went back to school and got an additional degree for that, so to speak, like I said, is all around sex and intimacy. And what that could be is a lot of different things. The most common thing that couples come to sex therapy for is mismatched libido, different sex drives. One partner wants sex more than the other, and that can be such a varying degree of what that even means. So, that is most likely the number one reason couples seek sex therapy. I have worked with men and women and couples around sexual dysfunction. I have worked with individuals around sexual trauma. I have worked with couples wanting to open their relationships, wanting to close their relationships from an open relationship. Again, it can be anything that falls under sex and intimacy. Sometimes, even how do I talk to my partner about sex? So, anyone who is someone who has any experience in their life around sex and intimacy, and it could be someone who's never even had sex, and that's what they want to go to therapy to speak about. That is what a sex therapist is here for.
Okay, that was beautifully said. And that's so many openings in there. And the first
Yeah.
one I'm going to grab, okay, is the mismatched libidos, okay? Because it's almost like you feel like you need to have a certain sex drive. There's a correct sex drive, right? And if
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
has, you might feel like you have too little. I'm not as interested. Or someone who's like, oh my God, he wants it every night, right?
Yeah. Or she. Yeah.
So I'm hearing first, there's probably no wrong drive. Whatever you have, none or a lot is perfect for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
But how do you meet in the middle if you are dealing with that?
Yeah, I want to try and normalize anything that I can for a client, especially if it has to do with sex, because I know we all feel like we are alone. We are the only one who could possibly have this fantasy or have experienced this thing. So, the first thing I like to tell people is I have never met, I don't plan to ever meet because it doesn't exist, two people who have the exact same desire at the exact same time. It doesn't happen. Now, could a couple go out on a date night? They got a babysitter. They went and had their nice dinner. They Ubered so they could share a bottle of wine. They come home and they both are wanting to share a sexual experience with each other. Sure, I guarantee they're not thinking the same thing. So, not only is it mismatched desire, mismatched libido, whatever you want to call it, sometimes it's also mismatched timing. Both people in a relationship might want to be intimate with their partner that day, but one really enjoys it first thing in the morning to kind of get their day started, and another likes it at night. So much is just talking about it. And that also changes. Sex changes over time. You hear the whole, I want to go back to how it was when we first met. Okay, I get it, Bob, but you guys met when you were 22. Now you're 52. You've been together for 30 years. You have four kids. You're not going to be going and having sex in the backseat of your car on a random Tuesday at 4 o'clock. You're probably going to be shuffling kids to soccer practice. Now, can you still have sex in the backseat of your car? Sure. Just might take a little bit more planning at this
Mhm.
point in life versus at 22. So again, it's normalizing it and it's helping clients and couples feel comfortable even talking about it.
Yeah. So, how do couples start the conversation about just in general sex? 'Cause-
I
Yeah.
always say you start where the less comfortable partner is. I
Mhm.
have had sessions with adults and couples where they are using language within 5 seconds of the session. I have had sessions with couples and individuals where if I even say the word penis or vulva, they're almost like laughing like a little,
Mhm.
teenager. So not only am I going to go at the pace of that client or couple, but the relationship needs to go at the pace of the less comfortable person. The less comfortable person needs to know that they are the less comfortable person and they need to be able to say what they are and aren't okay discussing. And sometimes it's not so much the content of what they're not comfortable discussing, it's the way it's being asked. They may not want to talk about it randomly at dinner one night where they don't feel like they're prepared. But if it was something that was maybe texted to them one day and given time to think about it, they would be more willing to talk about it the next day. So it's not just what is being asked to talk about. How are you setting the environment to have it be a successful conversation?
Yeah. No, that's great. In marriages, like you talked about this, right? In marriages, especially after kids, we've got a lot of moms on here. We're
Yes, yes.
tired. We're tired, right?
Get it.
But then there's times that maybe we're not tired, right? So, how do you start almost rekindling that? So, you're married, everything's great in the beginning, or not great in the beginning, and hopefully you've dealt with that. But then you have these kids and they suck the life out of you, who we love, right? We all
We
love these
do.
kids.
We do. Both things
Um,
can be true at the same time. We
both
can love
things
them
are
and they suck
true.
the life out of us.
And the desire is less, right? The desire
Sure.
is less because we don't have anymore. But then there's a time period that maybe kids are older and there's more time, but it's like you've been disconnected for so long. How do
Sure.
you rekindle that flame? How do you make it
And
get
of
back into
course,
that?
absolutely. Of course, the goal is the flame dwindles over time, but it's not ever put out that you have to start scratching two sticks together again, so to speak. As things go on in our life, as our children age, we've just got to pivot to what our expectations are. I use the word expectations probably in every single session I do. Our expectations are different when we're in our 20s and we don't have kids and we have jobs that we can leave at 5 o'clock and we don't have aging parents and all of those things. That's different. We can prioritize sex and intimacy possibly differently then. It doesn't mean we don't prioritize it once we get married and have kids. We've just got to change what the expectations are. So some couples are able to do that really well. They still cherish date nights. They still make time for intimacy, even if their definition of intimacy changes over the years. But yes, there are a lot of couples where 10, 15, 20 years go by, and it's not that they necessarily haven't had sex in that time, but they've lost that spark, they've lost that connection. And then, yes, how do you get that back? You kind of go back to the beginning. You date again, make an effort to impress your partner. You dress up for a date. You tell them how much you appreciate them. Those are the things that you would hope would not fade in a marriage or in a long term relationship. But let's be real, they do. So I always say very small efforts make such a huge difference. Hey, babe, that tie looks really nice on you. Is that new? Hey, sweetheart, thank you for pouring my coffee in the mug today. You saw I was running late to work. I'm going to send a little text. I have 3 minutes before my next Zoom meeting. I'm going to send a little text saying, can't wait to see you tonight.
Mm.
Those little gestures make such a difference. And one of the best sayings I've ever heard, I can't take credit for it. Foreplay begins the minute you wake up. And what that means is from the moment we wake up, we choose how we want to connect to our partner. Whether our partner is in bed right next to us, our partner is across the country because we're in a long distance relationship, we choose how we want to connect in that relationship. Heck, we choose how we want to connect with ourselves throughout the day. So the efforts we make matter. And over the years, a lot of those efforts slow down because we take our partner for granted. I see it every day.
Yep. Yep. I love that. I love that. Just going back to the being like a simple text to be like, looking
Yeah,
forward to seeing you later. Yeah. Let's spend some alone time together. Yes. Whatever that means. Doesn't,
exactly.
hmm
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
little efforts go, I think, a very long way.
And so when you say going into these little efforts, because listen, we're talking about sex, but we're also talking about intimacy, which is
Yep.
not necessarily the same. And there's a lot of play in there. So what has been your best go-to little intimacy, almost like things that your clients can do to have that connection, to really feel each other in a
Yeah.
even sexual, non-sexual way?
So the two things that come to mind are I love Dr. Emily Morse,
Mhm.
sexwithemily.com. She has a yes, no, maybe list. And this is accessible through her website. It's also in her book that she wrote. The yes, no, maybe list is everything from A to Z. And it's, I say, G rated to X rated. And it lists a lot of different things that couples can do sexually, intimately, physically with each other. And so, what I suggest a couple does is I always say print out 3 copies of the list and go through one day separately, go through and just read what's on the list. Some people might need to look up what some of those definitions are because some people may not know, cuddling is one thing, pegging is another. So,
Yeah.
some people might need to look up what a term means because you certainly don't want to say yes to it if you don't know even what it means. And then I say, put the sheet away for a day or two. Then come back to it and go through and check the boxes. Yes, no, maybe. Keeping in mind, there possibly is a difference between giving and receiving. Someone
Mhm.
may love getting a massage, they may not want to give a massage. So make sure you differentiate that. And then again, another day or two later, come back together with your partner and go over your lists. This could be days, weeks, months long of going through the list because you really want to go through it one by one and learn about your partner. Every time I've suggested this to a couple, at least one joint yes is on there that they were not aware of.
Hmm.
And so that affords one more thing that they could both be doing together that they didn't realize each other were willing to do.
Yeah, I
So
love.
that's one tool I like to give.
Yeah, and I love the list because it does give you time by yourself. You
Hmm.
don't have to be as just in the moment with your partner to figure it out while you're talking it through. It's like you can actually spend time alone and separate and then really bring it together. And so you can see what it is. And it's always good to have some more ideas on that list. Yes, I love to get and give massages, but only
Yeah.
probably. I'm not someone who loves massages from others, but from my spouse, yes, but from others, maybe not. It's an
And
interesting.
again, absolutely. And you may love a massage from your spouse, but I have one couple, she loves feet massages, but she doesn't want her back massaged. She doesn't want her scalp massaged. She loves her feet being massaged.
Yeah.
So again, even being detailed about that. A lot of people are very quick to say no to something sexually. And don't get me wrong, if someone does not want to do something sexually, you don't do it. But so many people are quick to say no to something because one, they may not even understand what it means, or they think it has to be done a certain way. And
Yeah.
so, again, it's teaching the language. I'm all about definitions. I had a session once with a couple where they wanted to practice more of a dom sub type of relationship. One's more dominant, one's more submissive. And that really scared her because she didn't know what it meant to be, he wanted her to be dominant. She didn't know what that was going to look like, but she made an assumption based on what she's seen in movies and whatever. And she was so far off of what he wanted her to be because they had never used a definition of that language. So even I have clients where I even say, what is intimacy? What is sex? So we've
Right.
got to first be speaking the same language, then we can start to do some of these exercises together that will hopefully bring couples closer to communicating about sex. Because the reality is, most couples do not talk about sex.
No, money and sex, right?
That's
Like,
it. That's it. Top
yeah.
two.
Nope. So yeah, you got to talk about those. So speaking of which, like what is one conversation that people are missing talking about? Like within this, not just like general, but like really like people don't talk about this part and this is important.
I honestly think the simple answer to that, at least what's coming to mind initially, are basic needs. What we need. It is, I hate to say assumed, or expected when we join in a romantic relationship. It is expected that a sexual component, most likely, assuming both people want that, is going to be part of that relationship. That is what sets a romantic relationship apart from any other relationship you have. You might have five great friends that you can tell your deepest, darkest secret to, that you want to travel with, that you know can loan you money if you need it. That's great. But chances are the one person, if you're in a monogamous relationship, that you're having sex with is your partner. And if we can't talk about what we need in that relationship, there's a big piece that's missing. And sometimes we make things so much more complicated than we need to. It could be as simple as, I had a bad day at work today. I really need to be held tonight before we go to bed. Or I'm really missing our connection. I know it's been so busy. The kids were sick, your mom was in town, blah, 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 blah. I really need to feel desired by you. And one way I know I could feel desired by you is if you blank, if you said blank. Now, that person doesn't have to do it, but at least the one stating their need is being so incredibly vulnerable in doing so. I always say, let's make sure we have manners and thank our partner for at least being vulnerable. Whether
Hmm.
we're going to do the thing they're asking of us is a different story, but let's at least recognize they were being so vulnerable and even putting themselves out there, and then the person being asked to do said thing can decide whether they want to do that or not. But again, it doesn't have to be a hard no. It can be, oh, honey, I think that's so sweet that you would love to feel close tonight and do X, Y, or Z. This is how I'm feeling. How would you feel if we did this other thing instead? And then the
Hmm.
couple decides if that's going to work for them or not.
Yeah. Great. No, we're moms here, so how do we know what we need? Sometimes we feel like asking us what we need is the worst question in the world.
Again, back to basics. What do I need? Do I need 20 minutes to myself to take a shower and not be interrupted? Do I need a day at the spa? Do I need to sit down and vent about my day and have you sit there and validate how I'm feeling? Do
Hmm.
I need an orgasm? Do I need to buy a new toy? Do I need a night out with my girlfriends? And you need to figure out how to take care of the kids. I'm not going to answer a text unless, God forbid, the house is on fire. It may be hard for us as moms to even stop and think about what we need because we've been putting so many other people's needs before ours. But it's that whole oxygen mask thing. Self care is critical. And to me, sexual care is part of self care.
Yeah.
Again, if that is something you want.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to invest in their sexual relationship with themselves or in a sexual relationship with another person. But if you do, if you want to better understand your body, be comfortable with your body, be sexual with your body, whether that's privately or to share with someone else, then let's think about what we would like that to look like, and let's start at step one, whatever step one would be for
Mm.
people. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's the question I'm asked. Where would someone even start to begin to be sexual with their body if it's been decades or it's never been a thing at all? And what I always say is, I always say there's no trick questions when I ask clients questions, but this might be a trick question. I always say, where is the one place that hopefully at least once a day we are naked and by ourselves for a somewhat duration of time? And people answer the shower because that is the correct answer. And I always say, use that as an opportunity to just be with your body. I'm not saying it needs to be sexual. If you want it to be, enjoy yourself. But when is the last time we actually took the time to rub the conditioner into our hair? When is
Mm.
the last time we actually slowed down while we were shaving our legs and could even say that our shaving gel is lavender scent? If a mom was offered $1,000 to tell you what the scent is of her shower gel, she might not be able to answer it because she's so quick in the shower, she doesn't even know.
Or doesn't even use gel, just
Or
the
what? Or
water.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
shaving? What do you mean? I haven't shaved in 6 months. Like that. So just being present, being still. And we're not talking hours. We're not talking thousands of dollars. We're talking one more minute. I
Yeah.
have this little spray. I think I got it at a girls' weekend in a little basket or something. I have this little spray that you just have to spray once. And it's such a strong scent and it smells like lavender. And when I take a shower, I don't do it every day. I take a shower every day. I don't use the spray every day. Just want to clarify. When I use the spray, I escape to a day spa because that's
Mm,
the smell that smells like a day spa. And in those 7 minutes, whatever it is that I'm in the shower, I'm able to relax. I'm able to take a couple more deep breaths. I'm able to touch my skin a little bit more and massage my scalp a little bit more. But again, especially as moms, I'll speak for myself, we rush so many things because there is always the next thing to get to.
yes. No, I love my showers, love them. It's like, yes, my little oasis. However, I am as fast as possible trying to get that soap out of my hair. I don't know what I'm rushing for. I took the time to take a shower, but yes, yes,
Well, pay
I
attention
don't,
to that tomorrow or tonight,
yes,
whenever you shower. Like,
yeah, I'm
even
going to
if you count
slow
to
it
five.
down.
Yes.
Yes.
So I pick a word every year. My daughter and I do a vision board at the end of around New Year's, and I pick a word for every year. And I suggest my clients do this too. And this year for 2026, my word is pause. And
Mm,
I'm trying. We're over halfway through the year. I'd give myself maybe a B. So I'm not going to give myself an A, but I'm not going to flunk the assignment. Is slowing down.
yeah,
Stop and
yes.
smell the roses, as they say,
Mm-hmm.
because we can all afford 5 seconds, 5 minutes, but we don't do it.
And with that, I am even thinking of with your partner, right? Talk
Of
about
course,
starting
yeah.
from the beginning. Like, how many times are you trying to get everyone out of the house, right? And there's your partner you forgot to say goodbye to, right? Or even give a hug or a kiss or touch in any way. So,
Yeah,
yeah, you're just like, oh my God, I got my stuff. We're on time. Great. See ya. So, I even just that, a pause, acknowledgement is
absolutely.
huge, right? Huge.
Absolutely. And I know this goes both ways, but I work with so many couples where the husband just feels forgotten. They'll
Totally.
say, I'm not even number two after our one child. I'm number seven because it's the kids, it's the dog, it's pickleball, it's church. And they're just like, I don't know where my wife would even have time for me because all these other things come before me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of sex therapy is also just couples therapy, is just talking about our needs and expectations in a relationship and where both partners are possibly falling short because let's be honest, no one's perfect, and just stating where our needs are. And a lot of people want to be shown love through sex. A lot of people want to be shown love through emotions. And so when one partner wants to have an emotional connection to feel sexual, and the other partner wants a sexual connection to feel emotional, which is a lot of the times where we're at with the couples that come and see me. Each person, if they want to, has got to be willing to give a little bit. We're
Yeah.
not looking to meet halfway. That might not be realistic. But
Hmm.
if I need a little bit more emotions from my partner to feel sexual, then what am I also willing to give, and vice
Hmm.
versa?
Yeah. I love it. And yeah, I'm just even thinking of my husband. He's probably more the emotional. We'll see. But as we'll have more conversations, but it's funny because he always does things like hold the door or wants to be the last one to take a bite. And so many times we're just rushing around and I don't even notice. And recently, with my kids older, I have more space and I'm like, huh, that's so sweet. Thank you. And that's all I think he actually wants is a little acknowledgement for all the effort, but he's been doing it for years and he keeps doing it and trying. But it's
Yeah,
funny that we have to notice when people are like also giving and trying and doing and get out of our little bubbles of chaos.
absolutely. Absolutely. And another thing, I do the yes, no, maybe list, but another thing I encourage a lot of couples to do is the oldie but a goodie, the love languages quiz. A lot of people don't know what the love languages are, or they're like, oh, yeah, I think I did that 20 years ago. I say it's like changing the batteries in your smoke detector. Do the love language every 6 months
Mhm.
because it could change.
Totally.
And it's not just because, oh, I've had three relationships in the last 6 months. It could be the same partner you've had for the last 6 months, let alone the last 16 years. But when life changes, our priorities change. Therefore, how we want to be shown love changes. A lot of people change from words to acts of service. A lot of people change from wanting physical touch to quality time, whatever the case is. So it takes 5 minutes, hop online, take the quiz, write your answer, write down your order of 1 through 5, and have a conversation with your partner about it. Chances are you're not going to be shocked at what the answers are, but it gives you a nice opportunity to have a conversation and tell the other person, hey, my top love language is physical touch. Mine is words of affirmation. Great. Here are three ways I would love for you to show me love with physical touch. Here are three ways I would love for you to show me love with words of affirmation. Now, again, the partner has the right to say, I'm not sure if I'm going to want to do that, or those words aren't really something I'm comfortable with. Whatever the case is, that's okay. Then come up with another one. But it's like being handed a Christmas list. My partner is telling me what I can do to make them feel loved. How come I'm not doing that? They're not asking
Mhm.
for much, but I'm still not doing it. And how come? And then we've got to figure that
Talk
out.
that through. Yeah. Yeah, and I love the point that it can change because you think you pick yours and you're like, oh, like for me, acts of service. That was my top one for a very long time. My poor husband, who is so loving, he does lots of acts of service because he knows it's acts of
Yeah.
service. It's acts of service. And I'm like, thank you, I love you too, because this is words of affirmation when he does an act of service, right? However, now for me, it's actually quality time. I'm like
Okay.
dying for quality time. I love acts of service, but quality time is much more my love language because now I'll be like, stop doing the dishes, come sit with me. And reminding that it can change. And he's like, wait, you're not acts of service anymore? I'm like, no, I'm quality time. He's like, what am I doing all these dishes for? Right. I'm like, oh, let's keep doing that. However, it's true. It can totally change.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
important, important.
Absolutely. And I always say we're allowed to change our minds, but it would be a good idea to let the other person in on the fact that we've changed our mind.
For sure. Or we didn't realize it ourselves. So going back to
Sure.
what you need, right? The big question, what is it that I need and want, which need to pause and always ask ourselves that in every realm, not just what makes us happy, but every realm, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I always say communication is everything.
Yeah. Okay. There are some actual things that happen to our bodies as we age, right?
There
And get
are?
older.
What?
Lots of things from just the physicality to
Yep.
hormones, right?
Yep.
And menopause, premenopause, lots of things going on.
There are.
Tell me about how this plays within your practice and what can we do to help support ourselves during this time? And I also have a question for you. Do you notice, like, I know women, we go through menopause, hormonal changes. I'm assuming men do the same, actually.
They do.
So,
They do.
yeah, maybe you can discuss a little bit of that because maybe we're not as familiar.
I don't think it's as talked about with men. Men do go through hormonal changes, but keep in mind, men aren't getting a period at 10, 12 years old and having to deal with those things throughout their whole entire life. Most men don't realize there is something going on hormonally unless it affects their sex drive. And then it's either, oh my, the wife that says you need to go get your hormones checked. You think about sex too much. You want sex too much. Your testosterone must be too high. Or the wife that thinks you should want sex all the time. You're a guy. Your testosterone must be low. Go get it checked. Testosterone fluctuates. So does estrogen, progesterone, which both genders have, by the way. And I always say it's a good idea to get blood work once a year, whether you are needing to for medical reasons or not. But yes, there are so many things out there to help male and female people with their hormones. As far as women go, any client I have right now, I would say between the ages of 35 and 55, in some way, shape, or form, are referring to their hormones. Whether their periods are changing, whether they are postpartum, whether they are in perimenopause, which by definition, we're all in perimenopause from the moment we have our period at 12, because perimenopause is before menopause. From a sexual standpoint, it definitely changes things. It changes our libido. It changes our ability to orgasm sometimes. It changes our self lubrication that we maybe always had and don't have anymore. So our bodies are changing. And it's important to recognize those changes and then decide what we want to do with it. I don't know about where you are in Colorado, but I'm in San Diego. These women's health spas are popping up all over the place for people to go and get HRT and different shots and different procedures and treatments and all of these things. And there's so much out there. Do your research and see what's best for you. But we want to be able to enjoy our bodies, especially if we want to be sexual women and we're being limited because our bodies are maybe not cooperating with us the way that they used to. And then
Yeah.
what do we do with that? So I speak more with my clients about the emotional mental toll that takes on them. The physician, nurse practitioner will speak more to them about, once they do a workup, what that particular woman needs for her body. But it definitely comes up all the time. And the husbands, boyfriends, partners who are trying to be supportive of their girlfriends and wives as they are going through these changes and how that's impacting their relationship.
Yeah, it's real out there, but I do love that more people are definitely talking about it. I personally just went on HRT. I've got my own path with it. However, I hadn't talked to many people about it before choosing to do it, except for my doctor. And then I just started talking to my friends, and everybody's on it. I feel like it's candy given out at the
I
supermarket
know.
here. It's like, oh, I love it. I don't love it. Whoever, we all have our things about it, but it's really nice. I would say, recommend just like anything, just start talking about it because ultimately
No,
you're not the only one.
normalize it.
Yeah.
Normalize it. It's funny. I was out with some girlfriends a couple weeks ago, and all that was being talked about was HRT and menopause. And I'm like, are we really here? Is this really what we're talking about now in our mid to late 40s? If someone happens to have an extra 2 hours laying around, or they could break it up into smaller chunks, Rachel Rubin is an amazing urologist. She did a podcast with Mel Robbins, of all people. I like Mel Robbins, the Let Them author.
Yep.
And anything and everything you've ever wanted to know about HRT, menopause, how our bodies change, how it affects our sex life is answered in that 2 hour podcast.
Nice. Yeah, it's
It
a
was a
great
good
one.
one. I listened to it once. It took me, I think, three different segments to listen to it fully, but it's really good information.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. And yeah, and know that there are things out there for you and
Absolutely. We
probably
just
your
have to
husband as
ask.
well. Just have to
We
ask.
don't we
Yeah.
don't need to live in pain or shame, and that is what a lot of women do.
Yeah. Where can the listeners find you and what do you offer?
Yeah, so my website is the best place to get a hold of me. My name, Keri Green, LMFT, for licensed marriage and family therapist.com. And that is where all my information is. That is where, if anyone is interested in reading some blog posts or some book recommendations, links to social media, if they're interested in being a client, that's the one-stop shop for all of my information.
Awesome. And what do you want the listeners to start doing after this conversation?
I would love every listener even to take 30 seconds to do a check-in and ask themselves, where am I at on my sexual journey and where do I want to be? Am I where I want to be? Awesome. Give yourself a pat on the back. If you're not where you want to be, make a map. Where do you want to go, and how are you going to get there? Because we all deserve to have the sexual lives we want. And I think a lot of people are either uncomfortable, don't know, maybe don't have the partner they want to go on that path with. Maybe they have the partner, but again, don't know how to bring things up. So just do a little self assessment on where you're at with your sex life and go from there.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
just making it a easy conversation and just giving simple points, whether it's actual sex or just intimacy or
Mm-hmm.
just acknowledgement. I think
Exactly.
that's it. You really open the door. And I'm so glad I have a different view on what a sex therapist is. So thank you.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly. I love it. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want to learn more about Keri and everything that she offers, just click on the link in the show notes. And until next week, keep carving out time for yourself and keep putting yourself on top of your to do list.